As soon as Chen crossed the tower's threshold into the wastelands of the falling stars, he entered a world where the familiar laws of physics completely vanished, where his body was subjected to a massive and crushing pressure immediately upon his arrival, as if the air itself had suddenly turned into heavy lead. Falling to his knees, he panted heavily with blood pouring from his nose. The gravity here is insane. My body is heavy, as if a mountain is pressing on my chest. Breathing with difficulty, he analyzed his environment with forced rationality. I can estimate this. The surface gravity in this place is equivalent to 10 times the normal gravity. Turning around in shock, he stared into the void. The door I entered through has disappeared. This means that opening the portal requires defeating the floor boss. But under these conditions, my power has dropped to only 30%. Gritting his teeth, he tried to stand up. I must quickly adapt to the new environment of this place before I am completely crushed under this weight. Here, a terrifying roar pierced the silence as shadows gathered to form a terrifying entity. The rank B phantom lion monster had appeared, spreading a suffocating, oppressive aura. Summoning his interface with coldness and combat readiness. So you are my opponent here, a rank B monster. Let's begin. He immediately switched his class to the 10th level of the Lightning Assassin, causing lightning to emit from his body, marking the monster as his main target. He began his attack with chi, trying to launch himself like an electrified arrow, but his movement was unusually slow due to the crushing pressure. Biting his lips, he evaded the monster's counterattack with extreme difficulty. Damn, because I am not used to the hypergravity, I barely dodged that strike. So he charged his weapon with lightning to launch a swift attack to end the battle, hoping to relieve the burden on his body before a total collapse. Although he struck the monster's body, the system interface notified him of failing to achieve a vital hit or cause any significant paralysis. Analyzing the situation with disappointment and indignation. I missed? The high gravity weakened my speed and made me lose my attack accuracy completely. Receiving a strong counterstrike, he was thrown backwards in pain. It knocked me to the ground. The assassin class has become useless in these harsh conditions. Watching the monster's comfortable movement, he wondered to himself, while this monster moves with complete ease, does this silent power reflect the true level of the creatures of the Abyss Tower? Facing a monster completely adapted to its environment, our hero realized that speed was no longer the solution. He unleashed a dense purple energy wave during the monster's attack. Here, the system announced the completion of his class transformation into Raksha, the Abyss Demon. Emitting a terrifying purple aura, he stood as firm as a mountain. If speed doesn't work, then I will face you with the strength of warriors. Clenching his fists, he sensed the flowing power. I will rely on the warrior class in close combat to take advantage of the massive strength and endurance bonuses it grants. Indeed, the effectiveness of the monster's attacks and powerful strikes vanished before the solidity of his new and devastating class. Smiling fiercely, he grabbed the monster to slam it to the ground with crushing force. If you like this high gravity, let me double it for you by exploiting the downward impact. Taking advantage of the harsh environment to make the crushing force reach its absolute peak in his decisive attack, delivering a devastating punch surrounded by the purple aura. On this floor, and with this weight, the power of my punch is multiplied 60 times due to the effect of gravity. A violent shock seized the monster, and the scene filled the battlefield with absolute awe and terror at the magnitude of the power. With eyes blazing with anger, he delivered his finishing blow. Die! A massive explosion destroyed the surrounding area following the activation of the 3-phase gravity disaster. Immediately after, he fell to the ground, afflicted with total exhaustion and unable to move due to the draining pressure. The monster was finally killed, and the system granted him 12,000 experience points as a reward for his arduous victory, which led to his direct promotion to the 11th level due to the massive gained experience points. Then he lay on his back and began evaluating his new abilities while struggling to catch his breath. Panting, his eyes focused on the system interface. I understand it now. Every star on my card acts as a multiplier for the base stats. Analyzing his data with inner satisfaction, I deduced that increasing the number of stars means gaining much greater power after a direct class transformation. Confirming his new certainty to himself. This proves and confirms that the Raksha rank overwhelmingly outperforms the Lightning Assassin thanks to the number of stars. Marveling while looking at his exhausted body. But it's astonishing to completely drain my energy facing just one rank B monster. Getting confused and looking around searchingly. Wait, where is the Devour option? The monster disappeared without the Devourer ability mark showing up after I eliminated it. Trying to stand up slowly, he searched the horizon. And why hasn't the portal leading to the next floor appeared?
His confusion was cut short by the detection of a sudden movement that sparked his bewilderment and turned the atmosphere of the place upside down, as a new, giant gate opened unexpectedly and abruptly right behind his back, revealing countless hellish eyes that began watching him in an eerie, absolute silence from within. His eyes widening in absolute terror, his body stiffened. Don't tell me that the previous monster was just the beginning and that the floor boss hasn't appeared yet? Whispering in despair as he saw the shadows creeping. The monster I almost died to kill was just an ordinary monster. Suddenly, the monsters launched a violent collective attack, mercilessly gnawing at his body, leaving him in a miserable physical state in a matter of seconds. And only at that moment did he realize the true meaning of the Raksha class, closely tied to the unending pain he was promised as soon as the door opened. As the continuous attacks of the Phantom Lion's followers completely tore his body apart in moments of pure agony and unbearable pain, he became covered in blood, all simultaneously hearing a mysterious inner voice urging him to seize everything and endure this absolute pain to the very end. Only to wake up abruptly in his dorm room, discovering that what happened in the tower was just a vivid and horrifying nightmare. His body was trembling violently, covered in cold sweat, with heavy panting, as if he had been running for centuries to escape death. Panting and clutching his chest in pain, his eyes bulged. The pain of my muscles tearing and my flesh separating from my bone, it felt unbearably real. Regaining his composure, with eyes filled with resolve and determination. There are no shortcuts. The path of the Abyss Tower is arduous, and I have only just begun my journey. And so the scene shifted swiftly to the Great Hall of the National Awakened University on Friday the 20th of May in the year 2057, where teachers and students crowded into the hall amidst an atmosphere charged with intense anticipation and tension in preparation for the awaited graduation assessment. A student whispered to his peers with enthusiasm and excitement. "Did you hear? News has been circulating about the attendance of top guild union officials for this graduation combat assessment." Another student replied with understanding and deduction. "Ah, that explains the strong turnout and the change in the annual assessment rules, which previously did not require a specific team size or rank. The new rules imposed a minimum team size of 5 members on the condition of having at least one member with a high rank A or above, while he calmly observed the situation." Supervisor Schwan, the recruitment director, announced strictly over the loudspeaker. "Students, attention! Your final rank data has been sent to your wristbands. I demand you form your teams quickly." Immediately, classification windows and holographic screens appeared with glowing clarity before the eyes of all the students in the packed hall, which spread murmurs and a state of chaos throughout the hall, as everyone began checking their ranks and statuses with scrutinizing and anxious looks. And there, his friends were completely shocked the moment they saw his specific and surprising classification on the displayed list, where the screen clearly revealed that he had only obtained a low rank A, sparking extreme objection and shock among his friends. Ma Long screamed in shock while looking at his wristband in astonishment. "Chen, what does this mean? I'm surprised by the decline in the result. How did your classification drop to just a low rank A?" A female student whispered to her friend in surprise. "Look at Chen. His classification dropped from the previous rank C to currently a low rank A. It's truly strange." This general confusion drew attention towards him amid students' doubts and questions about a glitch or malfunction in the Magic Corps' assessment system. A student stepped back in disgust, dismissing the idea of adding him to his team. "I was thinking of adding him, but after knowing his low rank, I see he's dead weight compared to President Guangting's team." Another student mocked with biting sarcasm audibly. "Exactly. Who would gamble and risk their future in the graduation assessment to include a loser with a low rank like him?" A third student pointed gloatingly at him. "He previously rejected Leader Guangting's invitation. He will surely regret and mourn his rotten luck after this shameful result came out." On the other side of the hall, Supervisor Shun watched this embarrassing situation from the podium with a malicious smile and cold glares directed toward his nephew, Guangting, criticizing the situation to himself with veiled sarcasm. "My useless nephew, when will you learn? You lack the experience to correctly use influence and power and manipulate simple human nature." Narrowing his eyes cunningly, he decided to settle the matter. "I will teach you a harsh lesson. I have decided to eliminate this rival of yours from the competition entirely. This whole current situation and the low classification were orchestrated and planned by me so that he would be unable to even participate and form a team." In the university hall, where the survival of the fittest policy manifested in its ugliest form, the supervisor grabbed the megaphone to announce in a warning tone, "Students, use your time and form your teams as quickly as possible." A large crowd of students rushed toward Guangting, trying to win him over, as a first student shouted enthusiastically while pushing his way through. "President Guangting, please include me in your team. Choose me." They surrounded him in complete supplication as a female student begged him with a trembling voice full of hope. "I have been in the student council for 3 years. I won't be a burden, I promise. Take me with you." Some even went too far in groveling for acceptance, as a second student bowed forward in despair, screaming, "Mr. President, my healing class will be a massive weapon for you and the team. Accept me as a supporter, or even as your errand dog." Until his companion shouted in annoyance, harshly pushing the applicants back. "Shut up! Back off, all of you! We only have one vacant seat. We won't take trash." After half an hour passed, the alliances were settled, and the holographic screens in the hall flashed, announcing through the smart wristbands, "Teams complete." The hall buzzed with the sounds of elite teams exchanging wishes for success, while the weak were left to face their grim fate. In a forgotten corner, our team was swallowing the bitterness of isolation as he looked at his wristband with sorrow and pain. "Even after asking everyone in my desperate attempts, no one wants to join us. We are still just 4. His teammate replied with obvious disappointment and extreme tension. "At this rate, we won't even be able to enter the graduation exam. We are threatened with total disqualification because we haven't met the quorum." Looking at his leader's assessment screen in turmoil and disbelief. "This is insane! How did the sudden drop in your classification happen? Only some high rank E students are left, and none of them accept us." The other teammate slammed his fist into his hand angrily. "Registration requires 5 members, plus a highly rated rank E member. It seems the administration is deliberately targeting our room to impose these impossible registration conditions." While he watched silently, his eyes narrowing coldly. "We have no other choice. The combat assessment is our sole opportunity to prove our competence after this deliberate marginalization." Realizing in secret with a piercing look that, collective excellence in this test is the only ticket to a promising professional future for all of us, explaining to his comrades calmly, "The density of monsters in the rift is related to the number of team members, so no one wants to carry dead weights, which eliminates the advantage of large, randomly stacked teams." But despite this logic, all students continued their reluctance to ally with those holding low classifications, fleeing from inevitable failure. The situation worsened with the presence of the 3 weakest students in the entire institute inside one dorm room, making them completely outcast. Amidst the tense atmosphere, a shout broke the isolation from an arrogant student calling out loudly and provocatively, "Hey, Shangzhu, we are 1 person short. Come and join us." Continuing in a condescending and warning tone, "You certainly don't want to stay with a low-rank E trash in your room, do you? If you don't join us, you will be immediately disqualified with them for not meeting the quorum." He watched the situation silently, realizing the danger of the path, inwardly calculating the danger. At this rate, we will be completely outcast and permanently disqualified from the assessment if he agrees. Certain in secret that, inwardly certain, collective rejection will inevitably lead to our disqualification from the competition circle and the destruction of our only chance to evolve. With calm dignity, but the requested teammate turned around calmly to reply disapprovingly, "Thank you for your offer, but I refuse it and apologize," and raised his head with dignity, surprising them all with his strictness. Strict and dignified. "Our room agreed a long time ago to take the test as a team. I will not abandon my roommates regardless of the consequences." The arrogant student got angry and mocked bitterly. "Shh, what an ungrateful bastard. We considered you just a filler anyway. Stay at the bottom." He glared at them coldly, warning them against the consequences of underestimation. The anxious teammate glanced at the assessment screen, with eyes overflowing with extreme anxiety and despair. "Almost impossible. Everyone has found teams. What do we do now?" Pulling his hair in extreme tension. "The top rankers are gone, and the teams are complete. It's impossible to fill our only vacancy to reach the minimum allowed for registration." Then he fixed his gaze toward the upper platform, discovering the threads of the plot. Recruitment Director Guang Xuan is watching us from the Guang Ting family, logically connecting the events in secret. The kinship connecting the recruitment director to my rival is as clear as day. His features stiffened with determination and defiance. Deciding to change the historical graduation law? The dirty manipulation of my true classification to make me an outcast? Do they really think I am such a big threat that they secure this relative this way? Whispering with resentment about the crudeness of the targeting. "I will take this assessment no matter the cost, and since you target me so shamelessly," an icy energy flowed from his body, flooding his surroundings, signaling an imminent fierce storm. The hidden system interface popped up, announcing successful transformation to the new Raksha class. A beastly energy and massive pressure erupted from his being, deciding with a definitive, irrevocable look to end any form of diplomacy. Declaring confidently, his voice dripping with coldness and threat, "Proving competence is not limited to test papers and fake regulations. Official tests never monopolize the standards of measuring true power." Signs of shock clearly appeared on the features of the recruitment director as he watched this sudden rebellion. His teammate turned around in bewilderment, trembling and taking a step back. "Hey, what are you doing, man? What's your next move?" Reminding him in a confident tone amidst the restlessness of the surrounding crowds. The Academy and its ancient history encourage live duels to prove competence. Smiling with absolute ferocity, I will challenge Guang Ting in front of everyone. Launching individual challenges is the most effective, albeit most provocative way to prove worthiness with absolute power. His rising aura forced the crowds to step back in awe as he maliciously hinted, once he is crushed, this arrogant elite will pant to join our team out of fear, even if some of them try to evade the duel. Asserting with complete conviction, it's impossible for him to refuse this public challenge while surrounded by his followers. While the rival maintained his absolute composure, feigning indifference, the scene grew tense with exchanged energy-charged glares, signaling an imminent violent clash between the two rivals. With a surprising, graceful shift, the charged stillness of the arena was interrupted by a soft female voice asking clearly as she approached smiling. Si-Chen, is your team still looking for members? You have a vacant seat, right? Continuing confidently, causing everyone to turn to her in bewilderment. I would like to participate in the graduation assessment with you to complete the number. The vice president appeared confident, smiling coldly to reassure them. I reached rank D in middle school since I was young, so I promise I will never be a burden to you. His companions were tongue-tied from surprise as his friend wondered to himself, drowning in confusion. Since when does he know the vice president of the council, and what is the connection between them for her to support him like this? A follower of the rival sharply denounced the situation, stammering in shock. Damn it, the official is going to join trash like him? While shock completely tied his leader's tongue, the director's face frowned and turned pale with anger at this sudden turn of events, threatening his cunning plan. Students' rumors and whispers erupted in surprise at the decision of the outstanding exchange student ranked as vice president to support these outcasts. He objected loudly and angrily, trying to save his plan. Miss Ling Yu, as an exchange student, you do not have the right to participate. You have no legal right to engage in our academy's internal assessment. Furthermore, we have no documents proving your current classification. This is a blatant violation of the rules. But she faced his claims steadily, as if she expected this response.
Suddenly, a deep, booming voice pierced the arena's silence, shaking the entire hall as the principal appeared out of nowhere in support. Recruitment Director X is absolutely right. The director paled with panic, and the students gasped in shock following this sudden appearance of the ghost principal of the institute. The principal looked at the vice president with overwhelming majesty, interrogating her motive. You are here as a guest for a short period. Why involve yourself in this test by barging in suddenly? He analyzed the situation in secret with intense focus. When did he appear? I thought he was of the solid warrior class. How does a principal of this combat class possess the complex instant teleportation technique? The principal strictly hinted. Your participation will disrupt the balance of parity in the test. Don't you agree? She replied with indifference and a brief provocative apology. Oh, what a pity. He secretly activated his skills stealthily. Inwardly stealthy. I will use the exploratory purgatory insight to penetrate the classifications of the principal and this mysterious newcomer. But he became apprehensive and retreated mentally. Damn, total failure. I cannot read the rank of either of them. Their system is completely encrypted against my absolute system.
The director hastened to flatteringly support the principal's position under the pretext of upholding the regulations, sweating profusely. Exactly, Principal. We must uphold the strict regulations of the assessment at any cost to ensure integrity. The principal directed his words to the director in a tone carrying a strict, veiled threat. Our mission and message at the National University is to hone the super elite and provide a fair platform to showcase their talents. Continuing his decisive statement with absolute passion, the institute must be transformed into a sustainable mine for honing mighty talents to prepare them for the upcoming global arena. Strongly denouncing and warning him, the graduation exam is the major turning point. If any cadre is deprived of this historical opportunity due to administrative complications or exceptions, how will we maintain our prestige as a supreme academy? Terror permeated the director's limbs as he wondered to himself with suspicion and fatal fear. Is this senile old man directing his words at me? Has he realized and then covered my demonic manipulation of the system data? Deep down, he bitterly disapproved. It doesn't matter. I won't clash with him, but how did the principal and this newcomer ally to support a mere marginalized student like him? Opting for a tactical retreat, leaning on his absolute certainty of their relative's victory in secret. It's fine. The victory is sealed for us anyway. Reassuring himself with malicious comfort. Internally reassuring. The elite teams are complete, and our team is at the top, while he is isolated with the weakest student links. Let them participate to be crushed. Announcing in a dramatic retreat to the principal. You have spoken the truth, Principal. The recruitment department misjudged. I announce the cancellation of numerical and classification restrictions. Incomplete teams are allowed to participate and their legitimacy is accepted. The doors are open to everyone. The electronic system immediately approved documenting the team's registration, and the holographic screen of their team flashed, announcing Team Complete. Joy overwhelmed the comrades as his teammate jumped for joy. "Yes, we can finally take the test! You are the team leader! Take the banner!" He calmly took the leadership banner in response to their request. The principal observed the situation and the new dynamic with a mysterious smile, whispering to himself, "You are very interested in this boy. Quite interesting." Drawing an intellectual comparison in his mind, internally comparing. On one hand, we have the strongest team in history, and on the other, the youngest bottom-ranking ones. Eagerly anticipating what will happen. Internally eagerly anticipating. I wonder which crawling path they'll choose, and which rift they'll storm. I await the final results impatiently. The supervisor signaled the start, announcing, "Now team leaders have the right to choose their dungeons and the rift to be stormed from the central panel." As soon as the system opened, the central screen flashed with shocking news along with a loud alarm announcing the submission of the choice, and the red square lit up sharply next to their team to announce the immediate settling of the choice. A widespread wave of bewilderment swept the crowds upon discovering the speed of their team's lightning-fast and entirely unexpected initiative. Massive chaos erupted, interrupting the supervisor as the students fixed their eyes on the screen in screaming shock. "What? This fast? Their team is already chosen? Damn it, did they really choose that rift?" Panic struck the roommates. They grabbed him, crying in terror and begging. "Have you gone mad? Go back immediately and cancel the choice. For hell's sake, man! Do you realize what nightmare you just chose?" While he stood frozen in his place with the firmness of ice, ignoring his comrades' panic, and prepared to storm the eye of the storm that he had ignited with deadly steadiness.